Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Kiwi Learning, and today we're going to be going over the infrastructure bill and the overall market sentiment behind how the infrastructure bill will affect our economy. Just going over like a preface is that the infrastructure bill right now is covering over 10 major sectors. Going first one over roads and bridges, second electric grid upgrade, third passenger and freight rail, and going on from that we have the smaller ones, right? We got broadband, improved water quality, climate change, airports, public transit, environmental cleanup, electric vehicles, transportation safety, and just overall reconnecting communities. This together comes out to roughly $1.2 trillion. And Biden is trying to get this infrastructure built to more and more, and I believe it's up to roughly $1.75 billion right now. And out of these 10 different sectors, I'm going to go over today why I think broadband, which is right now at 65 billion, and it will be pushing that money out to the larger companies and trying to, essentially push out broadband to other communities and rural areas in the US, why broadband will outperform these other 9 sectors in the overall stock market. So the first thing, there's a true need for broadband in the US. Last year, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commissions, basically did a survey on who has broadband and who doesn't. The problem with that survey was that companies would essentially find townhouses as well as just houses in a neighborhood or a subdivision and say that if one house or one townhouse had that broadband, all of the other houses did as well. And so the reason why this was such a big problem was that it hugely overestimated how much broadband the US is getting. And so the FCC estimated that roughly only 24.7 million people do not have broadband. Not only, but that's a lot smaller of a portion than Microsoft redoing the survey and trying to be more specific on who really has broadband and who doesn't. And it showed that over 40% of the US does not have broadband. Again, this was about 2 years ago, but 162.8 million people is, I want to say, around 48% of the entire US population. And so that's why I think broadband right now is not really priced in, right? Because as this infrastructure bill rolls out, broadband will be given out to other companies like AT&T, Verizon, to basically use and push out to these other companies. And so with the roads and bridges and these other freight train rails and like electric vehicles, for example, I believe this is really priced in as of right now. We got companies like Tesla and Rivian just IPO'd a few weeks ago or a few days ago, and they're valued like gigantic numbers, like numbers that basically are the highest expectations of how they will keep performing over the next couple of years. And even with roads and bridges, we got companies like Cat, and that's just purely construction company. And even that company has, done extremely well over the past year. But companies like AT&T and Verizon, as they're a dividend company, and they basically mostly rely on free cash flow. And so this basically means that their overall stock in the past year really has not done that well. They've been doing consistent dividends, which is really good, but I do think broadband will outperform these other 9 sections just because of how much money that they're getting, and I don't believe that's really priced in. And so, getting on from that is that right now, a lot of people are worried about inflation because as people get more money and as more money is flowing into the economy, we have a huge impact of what inflation is doing to us and what inflation even is. So, even to begin with, what inflation really is that as currency loses value, prices rise, and buys fewer goods and services. And so in this example, we have a cup of coffee. Even though the product is exactly the same that's back in 1970, it was about 25 cents. But as time goes on, as production keeps adding, by 2019, or as we're now in 2021, coffee can range anywhere between like 250 and like $5 a cup. And so how this is really affecting, the infrastructure bill, and why I think that even though analysts are saying that this infrastructure bill will ultimately contribute to higher productivity and higher, like moderate inflation, I feel like this is completely understated right now, and inflation I don't think will be subsiding anytime soon. And if you look at like the chart right now, inflation right now is roughly 6.2% in the past month of October, and this is the highest it's been in the past 25 years, higher than it's been in 2008 when we had the huge housing market crash. And when you compare it to historical data, it matches only back to the 1970s, where we had the huge oil crash, and just after 1940, which was just after World War II, and the US economy was just trying to recover and was spending a lot more money than it really needed to. So that being said, while I do think broadband will overall benefit the most, especially with companies like AT&T and Charter getting roughly 40 billion of that 62 billion that they were given to the overall broadband, I would just be careful as an overall. I would make sure to diversify, but if you're talking about what I think in the next 10, 15 years, the companies that will do the best, I think dividend wise and just overall stock wise, I think these broadband companies like AT&T and Verizon and their consistent dividend with now like tons of free cash flow coming in will be extremely important to their true value. And yeah, that's basically all I have today, guys. We're going to try, again, posting these videos every single month just on, current events, current news. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.